Good afternoon, everybody. Steve Fletcher with a trumpet from my people. August 20th, 2026. I want to go over a few pieces of information with you that we've been watching. I had done a number of videos about Spain, that we need to watch Spain. Many things are happening there, including the total solar eclipse that was coming up on August 12th. And so when Spain won the World Cup, the person who scored the winning goal was named Torres, which means tower. And he actually scored 2 goals, but one goal was disallowed for offsides. So the symbolism here is 2 towers. One was taken down and one was left. So that immediately caught my attention as we have been watching 9/11 and 2 towers. Then, as we were pointing toward the solar eclipse that was going to be happening in Spain, many things started happening throughout the country. The first thing that happened was the intense wildfires happening throughout France and also Spain, coming up on the main city of Madrid. I don't know if the fires ended up coming into Madrid proper, but all the suburbs around Madrid were being hit by wildfires. Then we had the immigration crisis that was happening out of Morocco, and all of the people coming into Ceuta, Spain, Ceuta. Now, the interesting thing about Ceuta, Ceuta, if you look up the meaning of this city, the root of this word comes from septem, or 7. So we're talking about an immigration crisis into a city that means 7. The 7-year tribulation, the 7th month, the Feast of Trumpets, Ceuta. 7. So we have a lot of things that are pointing to a biblical understanding of the tribulation that is coming. And then we had, even before the eclipse, all of these things that were happening, then the eclipse that happened on August 12th. Now, immediately after the eclipse, within 2 days of the eclipse, a huge series of earthquakes has been happening throughout Spain. I need to bring this to your attention because there's a lot of people that may see earthquakes in Spain and they're not making the connection of how all of this has been kind of pre-programmed or set up ahead of time with all of the things that have been pointing to Spain. It's not just by coincidence that there's more than 600 aftershocks in Spain. So right now, starting on August 14th, there have been 5 earthquakes of 4.0 or greater. All of these are listed on the bottom right. And the first 4.8 earthquake was originally reported as a 5.0. And then it was downgraded. So these are not minor earthquakes. These are major earthquakes that are happening. Yes, they're not a 7.0 or an 8.0 yet, but they're all of the earthquakes that are happening. 5 earthquakes that have happened of 4.0 and greater. 11 earthquakes that are 3.0 and greater. In other words, 16 total earthquakes, 3.0 and greater. And then included in the aftershocks and the main earthquakes is over 600 shocks that have happened. 621 shocks that have been reported since August 14th. I mean, we're talking about 6 days, right? This has only been 6 days now. Talking about more than 100 earthquakes and aftershocks per day. 100 earthquakes and aftershocks per day over the last 6 days, more than 621 earthquakes and aftershocks. Now, an interesting number as we're watching 9/11, right now the report today is that there are 119 buildings that are damaged. And of these buildings, many of them are homes, many of them are office buildings and residential areas, and many of them are churches. But there have been a total of 671 evacuated at least from these buildings and from the damages that have been happening. Buildings that are not safe, people need to get out. So there have been 671 evacuated. Luke 21:25 says, "There shall be signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars, and upon the earth distress of nations, with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring." So before the eclipse was happening in Spain, and since the timing of the World Cup connected with towers, torres, the 2 goals and the one was disallowed, I was mentioning that we need to be watching Spain. There are many items, many things that are going to be happening in Spain, many events, many signs that are going to be happening in Spain, and we need to pay attention and we need to watch. And this was even before the wildfires happened, then the immigration crisis, and leading up to this eclipse. And because this eclipse was so powerful, because there hadn't been an eclipse over Spain since 1905, 121 years since there was an eclipse in Spain, there was something important about this eclipse. This eclipse is also leading up to the Feast of Trumpets. There's a solar eclipse and then a blood moon eclipse. The sun will be darkened and the moon will be turned to blood before the day of the Lord. All of this happening in the very month leading up to the Feast of Trumpets. So we knew something was going to be happening in Spain. Let us watch Spain. Now we have a series of events, a series of earthquakes, a series of damages, a series of evacuations. Okay. I don't think it's over yet. I think there are more signs coming. I think there are more damages coming. I think Spain will continue to bring us more revelation, more understanding of the time that we are in. We are right now in the middle. We're right now in the middle between the total solar eclipse of August 12th and the total lunar eclipse, the blood moon eclipse. It's not a total eclipse. It will be a 95% lunar eclipse, but it will be a blood red moon. We're right now in the middle of this, and this big series of earthquakes is happening. Okay, I think there are going to be more signs leading up to the upcoming blood red moon on August 28th, and this will be more evidence and understanding of why we need to be watching the upcoming feast days of God, which are God's appointed days. Jesus was crucified on Passover. He was buried on unleavened bread. He was resurrected on first fruits. And the Holy Spirit was poured out on Pentecost. Could the Feast of Trumpets be the timing of the return of Jesus Christ? Just as the first coming was fulfilled in the first 4 spring feasts, the second coming of Christ could very well be fulfilled in the fall feasts. These are the appointed days of God. Are you ready for what is coming? Are you ready for the return of Christ? I pray you are blessed. This is Steve Fletcher with a trumpet for my people, the sign of his coming revealed.